I've been living in Asia over 4 years now and have spent the majority of my waking and sleeping hours alone. And since setting up my YouTube channel 2 years ago, many people watching my travels often ask the question, are you not lonely being alone all the time?
Hello, good morning, good evening, and welcome to Bigg World Cinema. Without further ado, we'll continue with what you're here for.
Now maybe you're considering moving to the Philippines, have reached an age where you're invisible to women in the West, and have decided to try your luck in the Philippines. A guy from Australia messaged me recently. He'd been watching my YouTube videos and saw himself moving to the Philippines. Said he was really lonely. Wanted to fly to Cebu and have me help him find a Filipina. As if hooking up with a Filipina would create eternal happiness. Said he'd buy me a few beers. Ha! I don't come that cheap, my friend. I don't think he'd been to the Philippines or ever met a Filipina before. Just turn up at the Magic Kingdom and everything will be fine. So he's putting the emphasis on a Filipina to provide him with happiness. Jesus, you can't depend on other people to bring you happiness. You need to sort yourself out. Well, he was obviously expecting a Filipina to do that for him. A guy in a vulnerable state? He'd got no chance. She has family, probably children, all waiting to pounce on an unstable victim. She will bleed you dry. Do not be that guy. Don't make coming to the Philippines to find a Filipina the solution to your loneliness. Don't come to the Philippines just to meet a lady. Why would you do that? Do you spend all your time in the West putting your attention on females? Sure, you can make a Filipina part of your plans, but don't make that your sole reason for coming here. I was also attracted to the Philippines as I'd heard that Filipinas embrace age gap relationships. I've had one serious, for want of a better word, relationship with a Filipina. It was never serious in my mind. My Filipina girlfriend didn't listen, or she'd just assume stuff without bothering to ask me direct questions. I have issues with not being listened to, so I'd be telling a story and realise I've told it 10 times already. But she didn't listen. Not only that, she didn't believe what I was saying anyway. She had trust issues, said people lie. So not only did she not listen, but she didn't believe anything I said. A recipe for disaster. So there was no point me talking to her anyway, but that's another story. I often feel suffocated in a relationship. Relationships for me seem all-consuming, giving up my time, doing things, performing duties that I'm not really comfortable with, conducting a compromising lifestyle that only really benefits the other person. There's too many requirements and rules, and I'm always under scrutiny. Nothing ever ticks along very smoothly when I'm in a relationship. It's probably you then, I hear you cry. I'm always a day away from the missus throwing her toys out the pram, telling me I've done something wrong. I'd often think, do I really need this constant ear bashing? Or worse still, silence, wondering what I've done wrong? I'd often wake up in a cold sweat, checking that all my organs were still intact, thinking one day Bilbo Baggins is not going to be down there anymore. He's going to be hanging out of my mouth. So I'd bail in the nick of time before any major surgery was required. I'd rather be alone. Dicus intactus.
If you enjoy this channel's content, please could you like, share and subscribe. Thank you.
I've always been a loner. As a child, I'd spend the majority of my time in my bedroom. I guess we all did as teenagers. But being self-sufficient paved the way for how I am now. I read profiles of Filipinas online saying they're just looking to chat with somebody because they're bored. I'm never bored. In my mind, a bored person is a boring person. There's so much you can do with your time. Read a book, write a journal, take photographs, make a video, create some artwork, go to the gym, go for a swim, do the laundry, do some housework. Keeping busy means there's no reason to be bored if you're always active and making good use of your time. Also, always keeping busy and being productive gives me less time to think that I'm alone or lonely. Living in the Philippines, you can never be lonely anyway. Just walking the streets on any given day, you'll be greeted frequently by the local cry of, "Hey, Joe!" I love how easy it is to engage with most people here. It was my first day back in the Philippines in January, having been to India and Thailand for the previous 3 months. I went to the store in the condo and bought a couple of beers. Back at the elevator, a young Filipina turning the corner immediately said, "Good evening." That generally doesn't happen in other Asian countries where you, as a foreigner, need to initiate the conversation most of the time. She did have an English football shirt on, so maybe she had an English boyfriend and was used to English banter. But anyway, it was a nice welcome back. But you didn't come to the Philippines to settle in one place, did you? Did you? You need to get out there, rent a motorbike, jump on a bus, plane, ferry, go and explore places alone. You'll never be alone for long. If you've ever visited the Philippines and have been walking along a beach or an area where Filipinos have gathered en masse to celebrate someone's birthday, you'll be asked to join them and offered food and drink. You'll know what I'm talking about here because you've watched my videos, haven't you? It's happened to me on many occasions. I'm not just talking about people of my generation. There's a song there. Filipinos of all ages, old and young, wanting to spend time with you. No matter that you're an aging granddad with one foot in the grave, as young Filipinos on dating apps love to tell you, age is just a number. I find it far easier meeting new people when I'm alone than I would if I'm travelling with a friend or girlfriend. People are much more open to you. Although it's funny when I'm travelling around alone, the reactions I do get. Back in the West, if you're single or on holiday alone, nobody bats an eyelid. But a lot of the time in Asia, I'm regarded as weird, obviously. They look at me with suspicion, as if there's something wrong with me, like a third ear. "You're alone," they say. "Where's your wife or girlfriend?" "Don't have one." "What?" "I prefer to be alone." "Why?" No earache, no hassle, not having to continually ask the question, "Do you want to do this, shall we?" I just do what I want to do 24/7. I'm able to switch seats 20 times in the same restaurant if I want to.
Here at BWC, Uncle doesn't charge a subscription fee like Auntie does, but buying us a coffee would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Being with other people has both a positive and negative impact on me. Back in the UK, I had my favourite places to sit on Brighton seafront, where I used to live. On a sunny afternoon, I'd walk down to a cafe on the beachfront, where they'd erected a volleyball court on sand. Bearing in mind that Brighton Beach in the UK is a pebble-only beach, they'd shipped the sand in from somewhere else. This was a sun trap. There was a smell of ganja in the air. It was the most idyllic spot on Brighton seafront, and I'd gravitate towards it whenever I had a free afternoon and the sun was shining. I'd sit there for hours enjoying a few cups of tea, a cheese toastie, reading one of the many books I'd borrowed from the local library, or writing my journal. Unfortunately, on any given sunny afternoon, my friend Brian would know my whereabouts. Brian's a good friend, a lovely guy. He's 20 years older than me. Walking over to join me, I'd curse at him. And you can naff off, I'd say. Or something similarly colourful. I'd feel resentful that my me time was going to be wrestled away from me. Brian can never understand how self-sufficient I am. He needs people around him all the time. Whereas I'm the complete opposite. People don't listen, they just bore you with their nonsense. As I said, I have issues with not being listened to, always have had, although it took me a long time to realise that. I'm a good listener, and listening to the sound of others talking always gave me comfort. People always said they were amazed with what I remembered they'd told me. But as I got older, I realised that being a good listener wasn't good for me. When it became my turn to talk, they weren't interested. They'd start fidgeting and not paying attention. And if I said a word they could relate to, boom, they were off, giving themselves an excuse to butt in, shut me up, and continue talking about themselves. And if they are listening, they're generally not really paying attention. I am very precise with my words, choose my words carefully. It frustrates me when people take the words you're saying and add their own, or rearrange the words you've said to create their own meaning, and not what I'm saying at all.
My viewers say to me, why don't you get yourself a Kindle? When I'm sitting outside a cafe reading my Murakami, how am I going to get the Murakami nod of approval if I'm reading a Kindle? Nobody knows what I'm reading.
But also, as I've got older, I'm more appreciative of having people in my life. As a loner, I always thought that I didn't really need anybody else, that I could get by alone. But having people there when you need a shoulder to cry on and talk about your problems is crucial for my mental health. But I know now not to let myself be dominated by other people. I know my triggers. Know that when I'm being suppressed and not listened to, that's my time to leave and walk away. You can feel equally lonely when you're living with someone. Your Filipina girlfriend or wife doesn't really speak your language, doesn't relate to certain things you want to talk about. Now, I've said this many times and many people disagree, but I find it important to have a foreign buddy or buddies to hang around with. I moved to the Philippines to get away from Westerners, I hear you cry. People often say to me, why are you hanging out with other expats? But you're in a foreign country. It's good to mix with people who share your interests and culture. Some of you might remember Victor, my Spanish buddy, who I met at my hotel last year in Manila. It was great having him around for 4 months. We'd sit by the pool, swiping through our online dating app matches, asking each other the question, trans or not trans. It's important to cheer the ear off someone who shares a similar background with yours. I'm not interested in hanging out with a gang of expats. One is enough. I can only see the benefits of having a beer or meal with another expat. You see many single guys sitting around Ayala. Of course, most of them are looking for Filipinas. You need to make a friend, mate.
Just a quick reminder to please click the thumbs up button if you liked the video, or thumbs down button if you didn't. Obviously. Thank you.
So yeah, there's benefits of being in a relationship or being alone. I may be alone, but most of the time do not feel lonely. I have plenty of activities I can do to keep me occupied. One of my favourite things to do is sit on my balcony having a sundowner. You shouldn't be drinking alone, they say. The alternative is having someone join me if I want to. If I want to meet up with a foreigner or Filipina one evening, that is my decision.
You've been watching Uncle, the man from Bigg World Cinema. Please like, subscribe and share with your friends.